Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Mal with Nifty Culture. I am super excited to be joined today by Rodrigo with Moonray Game and Trevor Owens at TO with Stacks Bitcoin Accelerator. Thank you so much for joining me. You know, last week we were talking a little bit with Sophisticated Art Speculator and talking about some upcoming games and some projects. And now today we're going to be going exclusively into the Moonray Game. Please give us an introduction.
Cool. Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Rodrigo and I'm the founder over at Moonray. And this is a game project that we've been working on for 2 years. So we've been in development for a while and we're really focused on bringing like a real like AAA next generation experience to blockchain. And we're doing it on Stacks. So everything that we do ultimately settles on Bitcoin. And we think that's going to be just like a really cool twist, you know, that no one's doing out there. And right now we're the first and the only game on Stacks, and we've got a lot of really cool things planned with not just the game, but everything that being in that ecosystem is going to provide for us. So we just announced yesterday, for example, with a company called Alex. They're like a DeFi startup. So that every NFT that we craft, you'll be able to take it to Alex and turn it into a true financial instrument. So you get a loan, use it as collateral. We want to have like a whole nother layer of like financial possibility built on top of Moonray, so that Moonray is going to be a game, it's going to be a metaverse, and we're going to make that as awesome as possible. But everything that we do should have value also outside of our metaverse, and that's what we're working to do. And that's why I think long term, I think Bitcoin's going to be really powerful for that. Everyone understands Bitcoin.
That's awesome. And when I talked about it, I know a little bit about Ethereum, enough to get myself in trouble and the NFT landscape and all of that. And I want to get to Bitcoin and Stacks and why this is going to be different and how this is going to be different. But let's start with the game and some of the mechanics and what the idea behind Moonray and the fluids and those types of things. And then we can evolve into how that's going to interact with the blockchain.
Yeah, cool. I mean, basically, there's a lot of cool games out there and there's a lot of genres that are great, but I started this like 3 years ago is when I started looking at doing something in gaming, just because I'm a little bored with all the games that are out there. Even though they're cool and they're fun, there's just so many medieval games and so many near future sci-fi games. And I see the technology that we have is so powerful, and I'm just tired of like, let's just not do another fireball spell, guys. Let's do something different. So I started putting together a team of like algorithmic programmers. And a lot of them come from outside gaming. Like these are guys that really have studied physics or machine learning or just other fields, and they can do this kind of algorithmic stuff. And I saw what they were doing, and I was like, "Holy crap, guys! Have you guys done anything in Unreal Engine? Why don't we get cracking on that?" So we started working on these real-time algorithms that we have working in Unreal Engine now. Our team actually wants to extend Unreal Engine, so we're probably going to move to a source build real soon, so that we can get to a lower level, like program the GPU at a lower level. Right now we're like 3 layers up basically. And so it's great. We can do a lot, but when we extend Unreal and do our own source build, then we're going to be able to have a lot more control over the algorithms. And really this is just about using the power of like modern GPUs in a new and creative way. So that's why we said, let's go far future, surreal sci-fi. Let's imagine what a real far future technology looks like. It's not going to have any panels. It's not going to have any nuts and bolts or rivets. I think a real technology is going to be organic. There's going to be no distinction between man-made and mechanical. It's going to look alive. And that's kind of what we're doing. And that's where the fluid technology that we're building comes in. And so in the game, the power you have is you can melt the environment around you. And when you equip a new ability or like a new spell or whatever it is, that power changes. And so that we reflect that in how the fluid looks. And when you cast a spell, then the fluids get really crazy and you're melting the landscape around you. We can project that onto anything in the game, the landscape, the rocks, the walls, the character itself. And that to me is like a real technology. So I don't know if you guys follow UFOs, but I sure do. That's why your studio is Element 115, because that's the fuel for UFOs. No one, not too many people know that, but apparently that's the word on the street. That's how they're doing it. But to me, like if you see like some of the
we're getting demonetized already.
Yeah.
Nah, it's all right. The aliens are gonna come
Alex Jones is calling up right now.
But if you look at some of the reports, like that just came out recently of like flying pyramids, buzzing Navy ships, U.S. Navy ships off the coast of San Diego. And I see that, I say, it's just a flying pyramid. That's an advanced technology. Like whatever that is, that's a real technology. Not like us with our planes with like, burning, fossil fuels and flying around. And there's like, every once in a while, like a little nut fall, a little bolt falls off it or something like that. It's like all one piece. There's absolutely no seams. Every description of a UFO you'll ever see is like, it's all made out of one piece of whatever the heck it is. That's a real technology. So that's kind of what we're trying to imagine. Yeah. So here you can see how the fluids work, how you can basically deform the landscape all around you. And that's, part of the, the abilities you have in the game. So when you equip different fluids, the gameplay characteristics change. And then ultimately, we'll have some that are just kind of standard that everyone has access to, but a lot of those will be NFTs, so like you want something really cool. That'll be like a different NFT that you can either mint yourself or get some other way. And since this is algorithmic, once we have an algorithm implemented, we can do a ton of variations, really easily. So when we have our in-game forge working, we're going to just pull a random seed from the blockchain, feed that into, our algorithms, with some extra data so that we can give a unique look to either the weapon, the character skin, or the fluid itself, give some unique gameplay characteristics. And that's all going to be an algorithmically generated NFT that you then own. You can trade, sell, etc., or you can take it to a platform like Alex and turn it into a financial instrument and do something with it if you want, or just play the game. So we're reworking the combat a lot right now. And so that's like the new combat that we've been showing off. So, we're making the combat just a lot more dynamic. I think that, if it's the future, you should be flying around. You should basically have like superpowers essentially, because otherwise that's not a real technology if you can't fly around and jump 30 feet in the air. So that's what we're developing.
That's awesome.
Looks
And
dope.
so when you think about the, this is clearly has the design behind it. You're building it on Unreal Engine. We've talked previously. We don't need to go into all of that minutia today, but you have a couple things that are going to be happening over the next 6 to 12 months as this game gets ready. So you've also created Journey game.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if you can go into that and how that's going to evolve as you're getting ready to launch this game.
Yeah, let me drop a link in for you. We can get that up on the screen. So Journey to Moonray, this started initially, this is a top-down view. This started as our debugging view in Unreal Engine of the fluids. And then I like to fly around in it, to see how the fluid reacts. And then we were having so much fun that I made like a little Geometry Wars clone because I just like twin stick shooters because, like playing an action RPG is great, but sometimes you don't have an hour to devote to it. And you just want like a 15-minute, just do something fun. So that's where Journey to Moonray came. That's how it developed. So here you can see this is a fluid simulation, and you can just change it on the fly. And this is all one algorithm. So we just change, there's probably like 30 different variables in it, and we just tweak them a little bit, and then the behavior of the fluid totally changes. So what I like about this is that it's clearly a fluid, but it's not like any fluid that you've ever seen, right? So it's liquid, but it's like there's no liquids like this on Earth. So that's what we're trying to create is things that look like they could be real, but they just don't exist yet. So we're trying to go for that hyper real, like it looks like something that exists, but you're like, where in the universe is this? And right now nowhere, but when the aliens land, they'll tell us. It's got to be somewhere.
That's awesome. And so this is some of the mechanics that are happening here with two different style games, a true action RPG as well as a twin stick shooter kind of that's going to be in a single universe and allow users to start experiencing this. When does this come? And do they play it in the web? Do they play it on Steam?
No, this is all Steam. It's all Steam. So Journey to Moonray is going to be a prequel, and we're still working out exactly when we launch it because the game is basically ready as a pure game, but we're working on like the NFT integration now because we want a lot of these fluids to be unique fluids that you can collect. And so we're kind of working on that integration, and that might delay us a little bit. But this will be probably like the first thing that we drop real soon, just because we want to get something that's playable in people's hands. You'll need a pretty decent computer, but not terrible. Like a GTX 1080 should be fine with it. Preferably like an RTX 20 series. But really, you should be on an RTX 30 series by now. Unless if you're a gamer. I mean, come on.
If you can get them. I've got a 3090, so I hope I'll be fine. But the 30 series is just still tough for a lot of people to get.
No, it is. It took me a while to get it. No, but that's why this Journey isn't that heavy. Moonray itself will be a little heavier, you know, on the performance side. So this will be a lot more accessible. It's pretty small download too. But we'll probably release this, you know, free on Steam soon. You'll be able to play it and have fun. And then we're going to be integrating like the NFT mechanics with everything that happens here. So that it's really kind of like an intro to the Moonray universe to kind of get you used to like the kind of surreal world that we're building. And also just have something that you can just play 15 minutes. Like each level is like, you know, 2 to 3 minutes, you know, to beat. Because that's sometimes that's all the time you have, you know, and I like doing that kind of gaming a lot too. Like I just have 15 minutes, let me relax, shoot something, then get back to work.
Sorry, I'm muted. I'm curious long term, and then this might be a good transition point to talk about NFTs and stats. But you know, one of the things that one of my other favorite games that's in development right now, and we talked about it previously, is Crypto Raiders, and they're going to be introducing some permadeath mechanics, and it's clearly drawing inspiration from the classic Super Nintendo RPGs, Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana. But one of the things that they're doing very quickly with that is they are going to have like the economy is going to exist, and they're going to have fishing mini games, farming mini games, those types of things. And so if you don't want to play, you don't want to risk your character, you can still go and fish. I'm curious if you guys have thought about, you know, what if I really love the Geometry Wars clone and I'm not really into the action RPG, or I'm older and I can't, you know, move as quick as I used to. Have you thought about any economics of how, you know, if I'm a fan over here, could I still earn, assuming that you're going to have some of those elements on the blockchain, and still be rewarded here versus here, or is that a little bit?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's going to take us a little while. That's why we might delay Journey a little bit, is because we want like the same fluid that you have in Journey to work in Moonray as well. So they should be, I mean, the gameplay will be totally different, but then the same, like if you own it, you should be able to work it in both games. I think eventually Journey becomes a mini game inside of Moonray. So as we scale out over the next year and we turn into a full-fledged MMO, we're going to do it like continuous development. We want to hear from the community. We want to build a community and hear from them, like what they like about Moonray. The combat's good, fix this, fix that, and we'll scale to an MMO. But eventually we're going to have the capital city. That's going to be the multiplayer city with land sales. We're going to have a dual token structure with a utility and a governance token in the capital city. Then I think that's where we really open it up to different types of gameplay. Like you were mentioning, like if you don't like going on raids and doing action, there's going to be other things that you can do. Like we want to build out like a real metaverse, where there's a lot of different ways to interact with the game. Like I always, you know, tell a story about, you know, my nephew who loved Grand Theft Auto, but he never actually played it like the normal way. All he did was collect cars. That's all he ever did. He just show off his cars to me. I was like, that's cool, but that's not the way you're supposed to play. You're supposed to go like, you know, like beat those guys up. But it's like, all right, that's what he liked. All right, do it that way. So we want to have that flexibility in Moonray. I think that we're going to, over time, move to like a beta server and a live server. And the beta server is going to be very open. We're going to open it up to the modding community, probably release like an Unreal plugin at some point. So that's really easy to go in there, make your own game mods. If you have like artistic ideas about how it should look, do it. Try it on the beta server. If people like it, the DAO will vote on that. And then we'll bring it into the capital city. So we want people to be able to build their own business within Moonray. And so if you're a game designer or you're an artist and you have cool ideas, just go for it, have fun. Over time, we become more and more of a platform, you know, and we're kind of like the glue holding everything together, but we don't have to do everything ourselves. And the best part about that is like we're getting the creative ideas that are out there. There's so many creative ideas out there. Like we don't want to be a closed shop. Like if people are going to come up with things that we haven't even thought of, and I'll just sit there and take all the credit. So it's going to be great.
As you should. Okay, so so we've talked about, you know, the game and the two mechanics, and I love that you're not doing basically you know, an alpha release and letting everyone, you know, fix the game as it's in development. And there's been a lot of backlash with, you know, Cyberpunk 2077 being not ready, and I love the approach that y'all are taking, you know, building the ecosystem and giving people access before, you know, releasing an unfinished game. It doesn't matter as much anymore, but Miyamoto, I may have said that wrong, but, and this was in the Nintendo era, but it's, you know, a delayed game can become a great game, but, you know, an unpolished game is unpolished forever. I'm paraphrasing. He said it much better than I did. And so I like the approach that you're taking, with this. So let's talk about, you know, this is we've got the Bitcoin maxis, now we have the Ethereum maxis, and we have, you know, NFTs starting to come out on a myriad of different blockchains, and some good, some bad. You know, Ethereum's leading the pack. We've got Polygon doing all right. We have Sol not doing that hot right now. And now we have Stacks, which is going to enable NFTs, from my understanding, and resolve on Bitcoin. Can you guys explain that for us?
Sure.
Trevor,
You want me to take this one?
Yeah, you take that one. That's your
Yeah.
wheelhouse.
So, hey everyone. By the way, my name is Trevor Owens. I'm actually the managing partner of Stacks Accelerator. So I actually sourced Moonray and Rodrigo and kind of brought them into the Stacks universe. When I first I've been in NFTs for a while, and so my team and I had actually been looking for a game that we could bring to Stacks. And having bought so many NFTs over the past few months, I think I've spent like something $42,000 on gas fees alone on Ethereum. And you see with Axie Infinity, right? Like that gaming is a totally different paradigm on blockchain. The fact that Axie can have 1 million users and be doing $1 billion in trading volume is just insane. And it completely changed the business model to give it a 10x better result in value creation, not only for the game publisher, but also for the users too. I mean, it's really amazing how much of a win-win situation is for every game to adopt this model of an NFT tradable economy. And so our investment team had been looking for games that we could bring into the Stacks fold. Stacks, by the way, you can think of it like a layer 2 on Bitcoin that enables Bitcoin without changing Bitcoin to have all of the functionality of Ethereum. It brings smart contracts in a way that doesn't change Bitcoin, but it uses Bitcoin for security. And so Stacks functions almost like a layer 2. It's technically not a layer 2, it's technically a layer 1, but it interoperates with Bitcoin in a way where every smart contract on Stacks is recorded on Bitcoin. And so in order to reorganize the Stacks chain and get away with it, you'd have to also reorganize the Bitcoin chain. And so that creates this value of getting something for nothing, much more security while having scalability similar to a proof of stake system, but much more decentralization and security. And so, when I first heard about Moonray, we were looking for a bunch of different games. I saw the game, and I'm a huge gamer. I grew up playing Diablo 2, StarCraft. Wasted so much of my childhood on some of these games, but nonetheless, I love the games. And right in front of me right now, I have like a 49-inch ultra wide, the Samsung G9 monitor, by the way. So, when I first saw Moonray, it was purely the visuals that I was like, this is unique. This is completely different. And I later learned that Rodrigo actually is also in addition to having a computer science background and math background, he's a professional landscape photographer, right? So you can see that some of the landscapes in the game are definitely inspired by his unique eye for visuals. And so breathtaking visuals is an important thing for me. The fact that it's an action RPG, action is by far the best-selling game genre. And we got on the phone with Rodrigo, and I was really impressed by everything that you just heard about his thought process in the terms of, he was thinking about the game industry, they stick to the same medieval, near future sci-fi. And he thought, what if we, instead of going 500 years in the future, we go 50,000 years in the future? No one's doing that. And in addition to not only trying that, he validated that with the crowdfunding that they had done. So that was the point that we were coming in to the conversation with. And when I heard this was his thought process, this is exactly what we look for when we make investments, is founders who can find an easy way to do something difficult. And so if you try to innovate on the gameplay or the game mechanics, it's actually quite hard and it'll probably fail. But innovating something like on the creative direction and identifying an area where no one has gone before doesn't necessarily cost you anything. And so that was the start of it. And the fact that the game was already like 90% completed, right? We're seeing so many NFT projects dropping where they're just a PFP and they're promising they're going to develop a game. And I think that developing a game is like so difficult. Like you need to have programmers, artists, 3D artists. You need to have soundtrack design. You need to have so many different people that the cost of developing it is much more, in order of magnitude, more than doing a startup, doing a tech startup or a web startup, much more than a blockchain startup. So if you're trying to do blockchain and gaming and you're not 90% of the way there, it's very unlikely you're going to get there. And so when I found Rodrigo, we thought this was awesome. We spent a lot of time talking, found that he really had the right mindset for building not only a completely different game that anyone else has seen before, but he immediately caught on to the value prop of building the NFT business model. So
it's way better than my original plan was stupid compared to this. When Trevor was like, "Are you watching blockchain?" It's like, "Yeah, I know what Bitcoin is," and he's like, "No. Look at blockchain gaming." I was like, "Wow, okay, that's it. I'm in." I mean, the traditional game industry, it's dead. They just don't know it yet. I look at them as blockbuster video. I think like in a few years, it's like now if someone told you go watch a movie, but here, drive to the store, get a DVD, bring it home. Oh yeah, take it back on time or you get charged. Don't break the DVD or you get charged. It just sounds stupid. No one's going to do that. Like, why? I'm just going to stream it. I think in a few years, going to a gamer and saying, "Hey, pay me $60, you can play my game," it's going to be equally stupid.
I couldn't agree more. One of the things that, and I use this analogy quite a bit, and they're two extremes, but I think it's important is, when my kids are of the age that they can drive, they're likely going to look back and be like, you drove, like not as a race car driver, like you drove from point A to point B, and then like people drank and drove. Like, this is barbaric. And the same analogy is going to apply where you bought Fortnite skins and you didn't actually own them. You couldn't resell them. Like, it's so self-evident that in the future, like the next generation of people, they're going to demand it. Like, we've let Pandora out of the box, and this control, once released, there's going to be an expectation that I have some ownership over the money I'm spending. And if I want to play that, I invested, I was a big Blizzard person. I bought a bunch of Heroes of the Storm characters. And it's like, once they abandon that game, it's like, cool, I just burned, $1,000 because I really had fun in the ecosystem. But now, if it's an NFT, someone else could then come in and say, okay, well, they abandoned this game, but there's all this IP. Let's at least, create a mechanism to keep doing it. And so I'm really looking forward to how early we are in this space and just the opportunity that exists. So it's going to be really exciting to see what comes. There were a few details that I wanted to go into about, the concepts of the game and how do you create the community and some of the city center pieces. And maybe not talking about it, but in addition to the ARPG, there's also going to be layers on top of that where the community can connect. With NFTs, community is everything. So I'm curious, outside of fantastic, visuals, it looks like sleek gameplay for me. The two I referenced when we talked offline were Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, but you also need to have those elements of the things that make World of Warcraft tick and that get people to stick around once they get used to the game motion and the game feel. So I'm curious if you can give us any hints to what's on the horizon there.
Yeah, I mean, that's where really, the multiplayer city comes into effect. That's, I think, key to building like more of a dynamic living game where you give people the freedom to do what they want, so they can buy their own land, they can customize it. We're going to provide all the mechanisms for doing that sort of thing. With our procedural generation of assets, we'll help them make something cool, or they want to bring in their own assets from outside. If they're a 3D designer, go for that. Like we don't really care necessarily, as long as it kind of fits our style. We'll have some mechanism of letting people bring in, their own 3D art from outside. That'll be part of the open pipeline that we do. But I think that there's going to be just like kind of like dynamic gameplay or like meta games that develop that we can even imagine right now. And so our job is to sort of just be like a facilitator for that sort of thing. It's kind of like what you were mentioning with like people will go into like crypto raiders and fish or things like that. Like eventually there could be a lot of people that play Moonray that don't even like action games. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can be just involved in the politics of the city. I mean, we're going to have guilds. We're going to have a DAO, and that's going to be what the governance token is all about. Like there could be a whole nother layer of gaming that you do that's not really the action side of things. And then we're just going to see where people want to take it. We're just going to be real open and listen to feedback. And if people like another direction, then and we can help facilitate that, then we will. So that I think is going to be like the future of gaming, where the game is just kind of like the first. It's like the first layer. It's like the first level. There's going to be so many more things built on top over time. And then we have a real metaverse.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds to me like you're building the first Bitcoin metaverse.
That's the goal. So any investors out there listening,
that's incredibly exciting.
DMs are open.
And all the Bitcoin maxis, here's your chance, right? If you want to prove Ethereum wrong and prove that it can be done, Moonray is going to be a fantastic and stacks are going to be a great platform to start proving that.
Yeah, you know what? Oh, sorry. Just one, like what you're mentioning about like, what kids are going to think, years from now. What I think is also cool about this is that the kids that grow up playing this, like we're also teaching them about finances. This isn't just gaming. It's like gaming is just the entry point to learning about how do you create a valuable asset and how do you guard it, and then, and then eventually flip it if you want. So like it's like financial education in a way as well. At least that's why I sleep at night. That's what I tell myself. It's not just gaming, but it is like we're creating new economies, and especially as I look at what's happening with the wave of automation that's going to hit our societies. Like we have to create new economies. And I think people spending significant amounts of time in a metaverse where they're actually earning money, it's going to become a very normal thing in the future, where right now it kind of seems silly to us. We're like, oh wait, you play games and you make money and it seems silly. But I think 10 years from now, those are going to be professions that people do. And we're going to need them because you know what? Everything else is getting automated. What's going to happen with truck drivers in 10 years? I don't know. But you know what? We're going to make a really cool metaverse. So just come hang out with us.
Sounds like gang. And I agree. It's funny. 7+ years ago, I had a mentor, and he was telling me that, eventually leisure is going to be the economy. And when you think about automation, and right now there's, the things that machines can do well and they can't do well, but then with GPT-3 being released, and like the distinguisher between art and what machines can do is diminishing. And I don't want to get into the uncanny valley debates, but when you think about the fact that the machine learning was really, really hard half a decade ago, and now my 3090 can do things with PyTorch incredibly fast and scalable and everything else with these models. And then you think about the future output, it's inevitable that leisure and gaming, and then you combine it with, Tio and Sasha with some of the stuff that their background came from with early esports, and how there is maturity now with gaming, and people can make livelihoods. Ninja is one of the best examples, where they're getting Adidas shoe deals based on some of this. And this intersection of play to earn, blockchain, gaming, utility, leisure is all at this inflection point. And then you think about, the Bored Apes, leading the charge with mass media, not endorsements, but, Arizona and others buying them Steph Curry's an ape. It's just this, the tailwinds that are just here are monumental. And so it's an exciting time. Do you guys have any?
Yeah. One of the things that we're working on too, and we're going to make some announcements real soon with a company that we're working with that's got a technology they're developing that's really cool. But one of the things that we want to move to as well is that the assets that we create, and whether we're dropping them in from the outside or working with other artists, or whether you're crafting them in game, like the 3D information of that asset should live on chain, and you should actually own it. So that, with us, you're playing the Moonray version of that 3D asset, but you want to take it somewhere else. That 3D information is yours, and it's up to the other companies and their business model. Like you want to take it to another metaverse, it's up to them. Like we don't control. It's like it's your asset, dude. Like, convince them, but we have no say in the matter. So that's something I think that things are going to move to over time as well. And then the economies, I think, are just going to get much bigger for everyone. But you should really own the assets you make and own them in a very real way. And when it comes to like these types of 3D metaverses, that's the 3D information, but that's not a ton of information. And you can put that on the blockchain eventually, and it can live on chain forever.
That's really, really interesting. My last comment on kind of the economy piece of this is, I was talking with the Influence team yesterday, and they're another game. They are on Ethereum, but they had some really interesting, they have some game theory and tokenomics that they're going to be announcing as well. And what's really interesting, and the analogy that he used was really cool. And this will be interesting to see what's next for Moonray and what's next for Stacks and all those types of things. What's interesting about these economies that we're building is it becomes very easy to put it back into Bitcoin and then go invest it elsewhere, and vice versa. And so the fluidity that's going to exist, it's like, once I spend my V-Bucks, those V-Bucks are stuck in Fortnite. Once I buy all these, if I played any of those mobile games, it's stuck there. But because of the core that these are being built on, it's going to start, the fluidity between these is going to start growing. So I could be really good over here and make some money here, put it back on layer one, transfer that to layer two, and have fun, where I may have more fun here, but I'm not as good here. and then the fluidity is just going to be interesting. And so when we think about both the economies within the games that are going to be created, as well as the underlying economy, it's going to be truly disruptive, and I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, and that's what's going to make everything get really big, because when you have that true ownership of what you do, you're also going to be much more likely to spend real money on it, because you know it's not a sunk cost, it's not a waste, right? You can do something with it later, you can trade it, flip it, you can get a loan out on it, you can take it to another metaverse. Then that's when a real new economy will form, and something that we can. I mean, we're just catching the glimpses of it now. We can kind of see roughly where it's going, but who knows? I mean, I think the next 5 years are just going to be like really, really dramatic, and it's just so obvious now that we are in the middle, at the very beginning, really, of a fundamental technological shift in how our economies operate. And what's going to come out the other side? Who knows? But you know, I want to be whole on the other side, so that's why I'm doing this. It's like, forget the old model. That's out.
I keep saying I completely agree. I was having this thought experiment a few days ago, and it was really around, you know, win AAA, right? And like, I think that the rigidity, and because of, you know, and I'm literally installing Diablo 2 Resurrected as we speak, and I'm going to play it, and like, Blizzard sucks, Activision, all the things that they did is awful, but Diablo 2 had a really special place for me. But when you think about the legacy gaming companies, I'm sitting here like, why haven't they done this yet? But like, they're owned by these mega corporations that are just, by the time they get it, it's going to be too late. My one piece of advice is, if you're a badass dev, if you don't wait on the company you work for to take the charge. You are a creator, you're an awesome programmer, you're doing cool shit, go, because this is your opportunity to find other people, find companies like Stacks, you know, crowdsource your NFTs and go create awesome games. Work with Moonray, because if you're waiting on AAA, it's not going to happen. And if it does, they're going to dip their toe in the water, and it's going to be some altcoin, and then they're going to say, oh, it didn't work. You know, blockchain.
Yeah, they're going to ruin it. Yeah. I mean, I talked to publishers and to people I've been talking to in the industry for a while. And when I told them, hey, we're making this change, we're pivoting to blockchain, this is the future, they all told me, oh yeah, we don't do crypto, we don't do NFTs. So I said, all right, see ya.
Bye.
Yeah, what a big missed opportunity, huh?
You snooze, you lose.
I think they're gonna think it's a dumb idea for a while.
Yeah, but like you said, by the time they realize it, it's too late. In 2 years from now, it's too late. The time is right now. You gotta do it right now.
All right, so we've covered introduction to the games that are coming. You let it slip that you're building the first Bitcoin metaverse. And any final thoughts? Where can everyone find you? We've shared a little bit of that. Love to have you guys back on, but I'm curious if you have any final comments for us.
At Moonray Game is our Twitter handle. That's where we post most of the stuff. Moonraygame.com is our website. And yeah, just keep an eye. I mean, it's, you know, we're not going to race ahead necessarily. We're going to take a few things slow and cautiously. We want to get it right. So our token white paper is going to come before the end of the year, but we want to get that right because that's a huge impact on gameplay in the long term. So we're not just rushing to put something out there just to say, oh, we're blockchain. We're going to get it right. So if that means that we do some things a little bit more cautiously than other companies, that's fine. That's the way we want to do it, because the game has to be awesome. And that's our focus.
Yeah. Are we announcing the collab now too, or?
Sure. I didn't. I wanted to wait for all the final details.
I almost forgot.
Let's do it.
All right. Yeah. Do you want to announce it, Mal, or?
Yeah. So I'll start, and it's going to be unpolished, but you know, Trevor and Rodrigo were kind enough to actually. This isn't part of what we were planning on dropping with the NFT Cult token. This is outside of our roadmap and what we've committed to, but. As they're working on their pre-mint or pre-sale passes, they're going to be pre-sale passes, not free mints, but they're going to be access to the Gen 1 or the first generation of characters early access. And they're going to be giving NFT Cult token holders who forged ability to do that. And we're still working on the timing of that, but we're really excited and thankful. So if you don't have an NFT Cult token and you believe in this game, you believe in this team, go get 2 of them and make sure you forge them, or get 3 of them and forge them on October 4th to be able to get one of these pre-sale mint passes. Did I mess anything up? Any more details you guys are willing to share?
Let me just add to that. We're for the Genesis NFT drop, it's going to be a lot of special edition items. It's going to be the first NFT drop for Moonray, and it's going to be very limited supply. And the way we're doing it is that we're trying to get a very high unique ownership base. So we might not even have, if you don't have a pre-sale pass, you may not even be able to mint. That's how limited this is going to be. And what we're doing is we're working with communities like NFT Culture, some of the communities that we respect and we think highly of, who have great members who have been in the NFT game for a while and, you know, have been pushing this movement forward. And we're just going to allow free mint of the pre-sale pass for anyone who has forged an NFT cult token. It's our gift to you guys. We're also going to have a give to the community a piece of land, which can be like the NFT Culture Temple, where all the members of NFT Culture who have the token or otherwise are part of the community, it's up to Mal and the team to decide who has access, but it'll be like a center for the community to come into Moonray, meet each other, and play the game. And so that's our gift to you guys as a community, is you forge the NFT cult token and we're going to give you one of the pre-sale passes. And we're going to keep this very limited. We may partner with only 2 or 3 other communities. It's going to be much less than 10,000 pre-sale passes on through these partnerships. And yeah, NFT Culture is the first one. So if you check out the game on the Twitter handle and you think that this game is dope, is awesome, you know, the way when I first saw it and I was like, whoa, then go pick up a NFT Culture token and you'll get a pre-sale pass.
And we're super appreciative. And thank you both for that opportunity.
Our pleasure.
So make sure you go check out, you know, @TO. Make sure you follow the game @Moonray Game on Twitter. Make sure you're following us. Make sure you join our Discord. Go to nftcult.art. It'll redirect you to our Discord, and make sure you forge either the ceremonial or sacrificial, and you will get access to one of the first pre-sale passes. And you know, the other communities that they're going to be working with are incredible as well. But we're thankful to just be a part of the space. And I'm looking forward to just having some fun in the Bitcoin metaverse. So thank you guys for coming on.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Bye, everyone.